Hi, this is part 4 of becoming a Google certified educator at the level 2 level. In this unit, we're going to take a quick look at analyzing and interpreting student data. The focus is clearly on Sheets, which is the spreadsheet application in the Google suite of products. The unit is divided into conditional formatting, and then making sense of big data is what Google calls it, but I've broken it down more into making charts from data and cell functions, because I think those are more accurate to the material covered. Conditional formatting is really about visualizing the data that you have in a spreadsheet. You may have the test scores for your students in a large spreadsheet, but in order to see which answers are correct, which answers are not correct, and what proportion of students got something right, you may want to be able to color in a cell a specific color, like all the wrong answers are going to be in red, all the right answers are in green, things like that. In Sheets, you can click Format and select Conditional Formatting to highlight specific values for dates, texts, and numbers in a variety of colors. So really, you're just coloring in the cell. It doesn't change the actual data that's in the cell. It doesn't alter anything. It doesn't involve equations. It's just basically so that you can visualize what is really going on in the data that you have. An interesting feature that I'd never heard of before is the equal sparkline function. Once you start typing equal sparkline, you can left click on sparkline in order to get the correct formatting for the equation within the cell. And it can display bar graphs and line graphs right in a cell. This is not useful for large chunks of data. If you have 90 students, displaying a teeny tiny bar graph or a teeny tiny line graph that displays the test scores of 90 students will look like an EKG machine gone haywire. You really need a different kind of chart for that. But if you're just talking about data displayed over the 10 months of the school year, that can be useful, and it can be a quick visualization that you can just kind of stick in your chart at any time. This is how you do the sparkline graph, which is the Insert tab to the sparkline and selecting the type of sparkline you want to use, or you can use the traditional formula. There's an example of sparklines on the slideshow that I'm displaying. The bigger part of this unit was making charts from data, and there are multiple ways to make these charts. They go over sort filter tools first. Sort and filter tools are absolutely your best option. You can select a range of data by clicking your mouse and dragging it. You can right click to get to the sort filter function, and then you can sort filter your data by columns and rows. If you're already looking at the Google certification level 2, you probably know how to sort filter, so I'm not going to go too far deep into that. They also brought up pivot tables, radar charts, and motion charts, but there is a wide selection of charts available to you if you are working with the Google Sheets. Most of those charts are available from the Insert menu. Then you go to Chart, then you select your chart type. Only certain charts will be available to you based on what kind of data you're displaying. Specifically, the motion chart is only available to you if you display data in a certain format that it likes. The radar chart helps track larger groups and large data. A pivot table is different. The pivot table is not on the chart menu. A pivot table, you have to select pivot table from the data menu. A pivot table sorts things by predefined categories, something such as by student name or by date or by the test that you issued, by the assignment, and it changes the data that's displayed based on those predefined categories. The motion charts and the radar charts, again, they're available via the Insert menu. Motion charts specifically show multiple facets of data as they develop over time. It's not actually a chart that's in motion, it's a chart that's in motion as you drag the bar that's on the bottom of your chart across the screen to indicate the passage of time. An example of one of these would be on the next page. This is a really complicated one because it's from the EPA. And over here it's got the heat input, over here it's got the emissions, and in the event this was the actual chart rather than just an image I took from the chart, I could drag this little slider bar, and as it moved over, the data displayed would change over time. Lastly, they go over cell functions. I think cell functions are one of the things that most intimidates people about spreadsheets, but in 90% of the cases, whatever you're looking to do is probably on a menu already. And again, this is an open book exam, so you can always look up, how do I do this cell function? What's the sum function? What's the count A function? A quick Google will get you exactly what you need to know. These are some of the cell functions they go over. One of the interesting ones is the COUNTIF and SUMIF. They are logical functions. COUNTIF, it counts how many times something appears in a column. The SUMIF, it totals something if it occurs in the column. There is a filter function, as we were talking about sorting and filters before. This is an example of a conditional filter. This one would mean show only the values for columns X and Y, where column W displayed Joe Smith. This would be a good way to filter the results for a single student if the sort and filter functions weren't available, which they totally are. It's probably easier to do with clicking your mouse rather than accidentally missing a punctuation mark and losing your entire function. The cell functions, don't be intimidated by them because you can always look up a list right on Google, and Google supports Googling.